Yes, yes, yes. It is the Castworthy Podcast back at you. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine. Join this fine day with EJ the Savage and the VP of Research. It is Mother's Day, May 10th, 2020, episode 53. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, doing good.
What up? What up? Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
And the single fathers. Fuck it. We're going to do that. They do it to us. Well, not us. I'm not a single father, but you get you get the picture. Father's Day is usually about the single moms and shit. But yeah, happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, to my wife, Vari, your wife, EJ, your mom, my godmother. Happy Mother's Day to them all. Salute to all the mothers out there beyond those, but those are the most important ones to us right now. Anyway, what's going on, man? How you guys doing? Anything
Man,
new? Anything change with your quarantine lives? And I'm starting. I don't know if they're starting to open shit up in Baltimore, but down here they're starting to open shit.
I mean, everything for the state of Maryland has pretty much been operational as far as business wise up until 8 p.m. That's where the state quarantine kicked in. But I mean, we still can't dine in places. So, I mean, are you guys able to dine in places now?
Yeah, yeah. They started opening up retail and restaurants at 25% capacity. At this point, so I did see some, some dumbass people on my timeline posting themselves in restaurants, already. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you deserve whatever comes to you at this point.
I'll let VP comment before I play devil's advocate on that.
Yeah. Like Steve said, we're both here in Central Florida. They've opened things up uh, with restrictions on the amount of capacity. And I definitely agree with them. You deserve whatever it is that you get. As far as this week for us, man, this week hit kind of hard. You guys know, me and my family, we like to cruise, and we had a cruise scheduled for September, and with the cruise line that we normally go with, they announced they were going to start cruising again on August 1st. Our cruise was September 4th or the 5th. I can't remember the date now, but we felt like that was too close for comfort, so we went ahead and canceled, man. So no family vacation this year, but it is what it is, man.
Mm,
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
yeah, 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 shit, yeah. Um, Damn, all somber and shit.
It was about to be like, nigga, I need to get the bar. I need
Yeah.
to hit the bar.
Not so I
Bar,
mean,
fuck that
people wanting to go out and convene in these restaurants. You know what I'm saying? People I've noticed, man, people are really going stir crazy at home. They may not have felt, this firsthand. I told you guys back in March, I believe I was probably one of the first people at my job to come in contact with dudes that had it, and I had everything of the symptoms and recovered and everything. And I think I'm getting more cynical to the point now because I'm working still, and my job is doing everything in their power to be petty about us going into work, and I mean specifically my department. Um, so I'm kind of getting to a cynical place. Like, he's like, I'm backed into a corner. I don't have any options. I'm like, shit, I might as well just go into a bar at this point. Like, it's just wild to me, man. And I just keep thinking, I guess, for the future, what if something else comes along stronger than this? I'm just like, damn, like, and some people are kind of taking the stance like, yo, I'm not gonna live in fear fuck it, I'm going out there. And I get both sides of the fence, is what I'm saying, I guess.
I don't. So for me, I don't think.
I
Go ahead, VP.
No, I was just gonna say, I hear what you're saying, EJ, but the thing that worries me is that what's being portrayed about coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever we're calling it, is it seemed like you got a group of people who are getting sick, and then you got another group who are dying. What's being underreported is the people who catch coronavirus and then have the long lasting effects of it. And so Jason Johnson, who is a brother who writes for The Root, he posted a Twitter thread this week talking about a colleague of his, or former colleague, who was a professor at the school that he teaches at, who caught corona. And the guy was doing everything he was supposed to do because he has a wife who has cancer. So he made sure he stayed at home. He only went out to get her medication or to grocery shop. And he ended up still catching coronavirus. 40-year-old man, prime of his life, extremely healthy, and he got corona. He recovered, but he's one of the people who has the diminished lung capacity, and he lost 30% of his lung capacity because of the blood clots that coronavirus caused in his lungs. And so now this 40-year-old man has the lungs of an 80-year-old man who smoked his whole life. Dude was like, he goes from the first floor to the second floor to get into bed, and he's like completely winded, just walking from the driveway to inside the house from getting the mail, and he has to take a break, and so I think that we have to understand, like the collective, we as a society, that it's not just about whether or not you get corona and have to get put on a ventilator and maybe pass, or you get it and survive. There are people who are surviving, but who are going to live with the impacts of coronavirus for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one part of it. And I don't think, to me, right, I don't think it's living in fear per se, but I still just think it's a little bit early for all of it, right? We're barely getting to the point where people are able to get tested without having to wait 3 hours, 4 hours, turning around and going home and saying fuck it, maybe walking the streets, positive, and passing it to someone who could be high risk and have fatal a fatal outcome. So we're just getting to that point, and I feel like at this point it's about money, right? Boost the economy, try and make back what Trump had going for him, the little bit of what he had going for him aside from all the other fuck shit he was doing. And I just think it's too early at this point. At 25% capacity, you're still talking about. I mean, that sounds great for large scale restaurants that have the area space for 100 plus people, or 150, 200 people, right? But what about the small restaurants? That maybe the fire code says that they can have 30, but we know really that's with no tables, no chairs. You know what I mean? And ultimately, if you go 25% of that, you're still kind of sitting on top of somebody or within the 6-foot radius, and then, at that, especially with Florida, they did it so fucking last minute, at least with our county. I know New York, they said 5/18 or 5/20, but they put that out like 2-3 weeks ago. So that gives people time to prepare, where here, they were like, it was like on a Friday, they were like, oh, by Monday, we're going to be popping shit back open at the 25%. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't think that gave enough time, or gives enough time, for these restaurants and these businesses to kind of really go in and do a deep clean, and hopefully, make sure that that everything is ready to go for when they did open. I think some of them may have opened prematurely because a lot of them were operating, still at takeout, as far as for takeout and Uber Eats and shit like that. So did they really shut down and clean out the dining area, or did they just maybe give the tables a quick wipe down or some shit? You know what I mean? I feel like it was rushed.
Yeah, I get it.
And not just that, Steve, but the thing that the thing that also worries me about reopening, especially in sort of the haphazard way that we did it here in Florida, at least, is that one, the governor first announced his like panel, committee, whatever it was called, on evaluating when was the right time to reopen, and there's no doctors on the committee. They're a bunch of business people, right? So where are the scientists who are saying like, hey, it's good now, we can go ahead, or go ahead but do it at this percentage? It's a bunch of business people who are worried about money. Secondly, the governor, again, here in at least Florida, has ordered the state medical examiners, not the the counties are still kind of doing their own thing, but at least the state medical examiners, he's ordered them to stop releasing the numbers of coronavirus deaths. And to me, I'm usually not a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but to me, this basically smells like, if people don't know about it, how can they say things are bad when we reopen, and then they can't call to close because they don't know if things are bad? And it seems like, let's hide the information so that way if things go to shit, nobody at least knows about it. And it's things like that that scare me about the reopening and wanting to just rush and get back
No,
out there.
I agree with you both, and I think you have to be cautious and responsible. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, I think we're all looking for answers, and the reality is, the fact that we have Donald Trump as a president doesn't help. But I don't think anyone in this situation, based on what we know, can tell us anything. The scientists, the experts, from what's his name, Fauci, to anyone, these motherfuckers don't know anything. They really don't. And we're hearing one thing, we're hearing another thing, and I mean, we also have to understand, like we also say, the American culture and way of life. There are a lot of people that can't stop their lives, so a lot of people, in the way I've been operating to work, it don't feel like a lot has changed. You know what I'm saying? Other than no traffic, and that I'm not taking public transportation. So in that regard, some people are kind of just looking at it like, fuck it. And I mean, you talk about the guy who did everything right and still wound up fucked up. You know what I mean? So I think you err on the side of caution as much as you can. But this shit is just it's big. And I will say, if we all can agree one thing, it's bigger than just some bullshit virus. Even just taking away from the virus aspect, it's changed our lives so much. And I think that's the thing we really have to pay attention to. And it's just crazy. I had another thought and I just lost it. It was something in relation to what VP was saying. But yeah, man, it's just it's fucked up, man. And I don't blame people either way for, being cautious, and I don't blame people for wanting to get back out there. I just think they got to be more responsible. Like, I still see motherfuckers walking around with no masks. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, no masks at all. So this shit is just it's something, man. It really is.
Yeah. And I think, for me, really, I think that's the key to it, right? Even the people that are walking around with quote unquote masks, you know, or face covers, you know what I mean? I think if they were going to open up, there should have been requirements, right? If you're going to go into these places, you have to have, um, the correct type of mask, right? An N95, KN95, like not a fucking bandana wrapped around your face. You know what I mean? Sure, that might help a little bit, but if they're saying that that's not going to block what's necessary, how's that going to help at all? Um, I just, again, I think it was rushed. I agree with you that we do have to get life going and moving eventually at some point. Um, but I think they could have done better. I think the government could have handled it better, and had they handled it better and been willing to shell out some more funding, then they wouldn't have had to rush it. Extending a couple of the things like the unemployment insurance stuff, which I think that runs through July 31st anyway. But maybe dropping a little, another stimulus package, or fucking, because they're bailing out the businesses, right? So they're bailing the fuck out of the businesses. They had a second round of business loans that became available and shit like that. So that funding is available, but there's no funding available for the everyday taxpayer. And I think that's how you keep people from making these rash decisions and these small businesses from popping open too early. Um, and I just poorly handled, man, poorly handled, um, and just irresponsible to me, especially for people like I get it that people want it, but like for people that have kids and shit at home, like you feel that it's that necessary that you got to go the first day the shit's open, you got to go sit in a fucking in a restaurant with your friends and shit, like with your homies, like. And I see videos and pictures of shit, like relax, you know what I'm saying? Just fucking ease yourself, ease yourself back in there. I mean, maybe it's just me. I'm gonna just be cautious. Like y'all niggas have at it, have at it for a couple weeks. After I see what the jump looks like in about 14 days, actually probably about 20 days. Once we see what that jump looks like right now we're still, the cases are still, they haven't decreased day over day. And we can't say it's because shit opened because it just recently opened, but 14 days, 16 days from now, if that increase goes from 900 in a day to 2,700 in a day or 30 or 3,000 in a day, like here in Florida or something like that, then that's going to tell a tale right there. And then how are you going to, turn around and be like, oh, sorry, we were wrong, pump fake, get back in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that's what we're looking at. I think that's the potential 2 weeks from now, and I think that's what's going to make it, make it more challenging for people.
Yeah, and you just reminded me what I was gonna say. And I believe VP is right, especially in the sense of reporting and the information out there, and the the state asking, trying to hush the deaths, but even on the flip side, and Steve, you just pointed it out because I think we often ignore how the media on both sides of the pendulum are not doing anybody a service. The day after Georgia opens up, they released information saying all of these cases came out. No, you were holding that information because I mean, you can't say 1,000 motherfuckers just got it overnight when they just opened up the state, right? You can't get the information that fast. And even if you did, that don't mean you tested the people that just went out to the bars and everything. You were sitting on that information. You know what I'm saying? So it like to VP's point, you see, I mean, that's also a red state, but you see these instances of where misinformation or lack thereof or the withholding of, who do we really trust about this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like you got Florida trying to hide, possible related deaths. Then you had reports saying that hospitals are getting money to say that every death they get is related to it. And then, you know what I'm saying? How do we ever really pinpoint what really is causing these deaths? Because then when it comes down to it, this shit is gonna be so hard for families. Like a coworker of mine who passed at 55, you know what I mean, who had um um with his underlying health issues. What how do we then confirm? Are we able to confirm, like, you know what I'm saying? I've heard things even from the CDC and NIH saying that if you've ever had it, it's gonna be in your bloodstream. That's why they're asking people to do testing to see how they recovered and see their blood. So this shit is just like, I this is why I see the middle ground. I definitely understand where Steve is coming from. If you're just getting out there to just go back to brunch because you just have to go out and have a mimosa, then hey, you know what I mean? Good luck. But then there's people in the middle. It's like, yo, dog, like the custodians, they just released that report that, hey, Congress, all of you motherfuckers, you did not think about people like us that have to go clean this shit, that don't have any reprieve, don't have any of this leave, don't have all of this stuff. Like, and then we all talk about the essential, and different states are giving people hazard pay. DC haven't gotten that. It's just like motherfuckers. Yo, I see people daily having to think like, yo, I have to operate as normal because if I can't, I'm not gonna be able to work. I'm not gonna be able to do shit. And it's really, really, truly sad that it's come to this. I agree. I hope that we had done better as a government. We definitely got to blame Trump on that because he's just been trashed. And for the weeks that we spent, all of the different experts saying we didn't need masks for us to come back now, and you gotta have them everywhere. This shit just really, if not for nothing, it really makes me just question the leadership of our nation and those that are in power overall, just in positions. I'm talking about businessmen, politicians, etc. Just I just question the morality of all of them motherfuckers, man, because like y'all said, they not there where the common man is, and it shows. It really shows.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I saw a graphic earlier. I don't know if you saw it, Larry. Where it says they did a poll, uh, and I can't make. Oh, this was on CNBC, and I know that's your favorite channel, so you probably saw it. Where they were talking about the by party, the percentage of individuals who are practicing taking the precautions, where 96% of Democrats said that they're taking the extra precaution and washing their hands extra, and only 84% of, I'm sorry, 96% of Democrats, did I say that? 84% Republicans, 90% of Democrats are wearing masks of the people polled, and 45% of Republicans polled are wearing masks. And 87% of Democrats polled are remaining sheltered in home, while 43% of Republicans are remaining sheltered in home. So I saw that graphic earlier, and it's interesting to now see when things start to open up, and when this big second wave hits, we know that's going to happen. The numbers by political party. If there's a way to see that, to identify if it's the carelessness that's doing it or what.
So so I didn't see that particular poll, but in my normal news consumption, I've seen polling like it. So it doesn't surprise me. But what you have to understand about this is that the anti-intellectual streak in the conservative movement in the Republican Party, it goes back to like the 50s or 60s, and as media has grown, where people have 24-hour cable news and social media and on, you've had a lot of these folks who just feel like it's the elites at the schools and in government who are trying to tell them what to do, and they know better than the scientists and things like that. And then they also have this, I'm gonna own the libs, right? I'm gonna own liberals, and I'm gonna piss them off by not wearing a mask, right? And and so some of it is it's done in spite, and I feel sorry for those people sometimes, at least, but it's just one of these anti-intellectuals. I'm gonna own the libs, I'm gonna piss them off by putting my own health at risk and others, et cetera, et cetera. And so those numbers, they don't surprise me at all.
Yeah. And then real quick, just to touch on it, the other part of it was, of those same people, 5% of those Democrats said that they feel that daycares are safe, while 54% of Republicans said they think they are. 2% of Democrats said sporting events are safe. 37% of Republicans said they are. 4% of Democrats said bars are safe, while 52% said bars are safe, of Republicans rather. And then 9% of Democrats said hair salons, and 77% of Republicans said hair salons are fucking
What was
safe.
the numbers on the daycare again?
5% for Democrats and 54% for Repubs. Right. And
Yeah, and that's,
go ahead.
some of that also contributes to the middle America theory, because if you look at the numbers by state and region, a lot of these Midwest and Middle American states aren't reporting high numbers. So a lot of these people, like to VP's point, have always felt they're insulated by their old Western and country front ways. So that is a little bit to take into account too. But it is extremely interesting, that logic that they have.
Yeah, and it goes back to the point that I've made earlier, and that EJ has touched on as well. It's the reporting, right? So in a state like I want to say it was North Dakota, might have been South. It was either North, one of the Dakotas or whatever. The governor there has been touting how they haven't had any cases in prisons, right? They're like, we're killing it here. We haven't had any cases in prisons. But when the media dug a little deeper, they haven't done any testing in the prisons. And it's kind of like I was saying here in Florida, right? Hear no evil, see no evil, right? So if you don't hear about any new cases or any deaths and stuff like that, people think, oh, it's all good. So let me go back out there and start going to restaurants and bars, et cetera, open back up these offices and those type of things. And meanwhile, you're gonna have people who are continuing to get sick and continuing to die. But if people don't know about it, how can they say, oh, shit's going bad, we need to go back to staying at home? And like I said, hear no evil, see no evil, man.
Yeah, and to your point, you'd be surprised that oh man, you'd be surprised that actually, let me stop. Let me say I'm not surprised that they're not testing, that they're not reporting in one of those states in their facilities, because honestly the practice has been, from what I've seen somewhere, they don't test people until they're severely ill, until the temperature goes up. I've seen dudes that were under quarantine status initially, then released, then let back into general population, then taken out again when they have severe cases. And then when you see the correspondence that goes out to the public, it omits the staff numbers, it omits the it's almost like 3 weeks behind in reporting. So then they get to tell you, oh yeah, we've controlled it in this facility to this point, but there are these new cases, and then those new cases that they're reporting on May 6th are people that might have had it April 20th. You know what I mean? So a lot of governments right now are trying to cover their asses. They're trying to save face, and it goes back to that status quo politician stuff, man. I'm seeing it firsthand, and it's really dirty, because we're dealing with the public. We're having people that have potentially been exposed and they don't even know, and then they're getting around other people, and we heard how fast it could be spread around. It's just all around a dirty game right now. It's super dirty. It's super dirty with this thing.
Right. And this morning when I was watching the news, they were talking to a epidemiologist, and they were asking him, like, what do we do with the 8 weeks of stay at home, right? And some places it's only been 4 or 5 weeks. Other places have been a full 8, like out in California and Washington State, etc. And the guy was like, we've mostly wasted it. He was, during that time when it was, all these stay-at-home orders and things like that, is when they should have been ramping up the testing and hiring people to do the contact tracing and those kind of things. And that's why in places like South Korea, for example, and the reason that people use South Korea is that South Korea and the United States both reported their first confirmed case of coronavirus on the same day. And the way that it's been handled in South Korea versus the way that it's been handled here has been night and day, because South Korea has contact tracing. They use apps on people's phones that basically, when a case of coronavirus is reported in, like, let's say, the subway, like somebody who got coronavirus use the subway that goes to Times Square, using like New York as an example. People get an alert because their phone knows where they've been by the GPS, and it says, hey, you've been in this area, somebody was there with coronavirus, so make sure you're watching for symptoms, wash your hands, yada yada yada. And we're not doing those kind of things here. So now that the states are starting to open things back up, none of that stuff is in place. The testing is gearing up some, but not at the level that the experts say we need. and we still don't have the contact tracing, meaning that we're just kind of playing it by ear. We're handling shit as it comes, and that's not the way to handle a fucking pandemic. We need to get in front of this thing.
Yeah, and just being quite honest, and we've talked about it on previous pods. To your point, VP, the downtime, it wasn't used productively, because motherfuckers really didn't, they didn't enforce it, right? So let me tell you how many times, and I'm essential, right? But I think the government should have identified companies that are essential, because there's a lot of companies out there that determine themselves to be essential. And I don't know what they did or didn't submit, or what was required, if anything, by the state government officials, etc. But I know, for one, a good friend of mine works for a lab where they test water and soil, something that I used to do. And because they have government contracts, they were considered essential and they had to go into work. But you're testing water and soil for contaminants, mostly on the side of the road, or before they're doing digging, or construction, or they do like Disney, they test the waters for, the theme parks and shit like that, right? That is not essential. That's something that could have shut down for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? They could have stopped the government contract. They could have stopped any new projects where there might be water or soil that needs to be tested. And not had that considered essential, right? I was on my way to work every day, and as day over day, it just seemed like more and more traffic was out, right? And I left, and I got to work at, I work 3 to midnight, so sometimes I'm leaving at midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's cars out, lots of cars out, and there's cops on every, I'll tell you, there were cops on not every corner, but on my route home, I would pass probably 7, 8, 9 cops, right? Easily. And for me, it's about, 13 miles or 17 miles from where I live, right? And I never once saw anybody pulled over. I was never once pulled over. Nobody questioned, you know what I mean? Stopped and questioned me or anything. So I just don't think that they were enforcing it. So to your point, where they wasted that time, or where they didn't use it, correctly, it's true. They didn't. They just really didn't, man. And a lot of, I mean, leaving every single restaurant, allowing every single restaurant to be open, again, unnecessary. You could have picked and choose, which specific ones, maybe, a couple fast food ones for people, but other than that, stay your fucking ass home and cook. You know what I mean? The fucking grocery stores are open. We're gonna send you $1,200. Take $100 of that shit, buy yourself some fucking food, and cook for these next 3-4 weeks. You know what I mean? While we shut shit down. No need for Applebee's to be open. No need for these places to have fucking takeout fucking alcohol either. You know what I mean? Like, motherfuckers was picking up margaritas, and listen, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Don't push it.
I like a little libations here and there too, but when you're trying to be responsible and you're trying to protect the fucking, the country, you got to make better. There needed to be better decisions made now. And here we are on the tail end of it, and people are worried about, oh, well, we need to get the country back moving. Well, really, the country never stopped.
No, it didn't. That was my point. You literally have people in these positions that don't feel no different. I don't. You know what I mean? Aside from the week I might have worked from home only because they had to throw me a bone. But other than that, I don't feel that much different. But I have stayed in. I can tell you, the restaurants being closed and stuff. I see the difference in that. Funny, just a point of information, and I don't want to go on this too long if we're moving off. But Governor Hogan recently in Maryland is taking some criticism because he vetoed a bill that was going to put like nearly $1 billion into education, HBCUs, etc. This is a blue state. A large part of the government and his critics right now are Democrats. And again, dirty Mac in politics. I told the dude, I said, this is dirty Mac in politics. You want a dude who just got all of this money and put away all of this money for this COVID relief to then go operate business as usual on a bill that's going to fund education system in this state that is not equal county by county. We've seen the largest school districts in the city in Baltimore County squander money away. So now we're going to give motherfuckers money and they're not even going to be in school the rest of the week. I mean, the rest of the school year. We don't know what the future looks like, and y'all are bitching. And this dude is worried about keeping us safe, and he's basically saying, I can't, you know, green light any money for some shit that we did before this pandemic. They haven't did any amendments. They haven't put in any hardline stuff to protect funding and make sure what it's gonna do during this type of shit. And I'm just watching these black and blue Democrats coming on. They're not really taking shots, but they're taking shots, kind of saying, "Oh, this is travesty. He's not funding education." Like, yo, motherfucker, what are we gonna do right now? These motherfuckers ain't going into the schools right now. They doing online shit. They're getting paid. Like, what the fuck y'all talking about? You know, and so that's part of some of that normalcy that, you know, you got these blue senators and House people in Maryland saying, nah, push this bill through like everything is normal. We good. But nah, we're in a fucking state of crisis. I'm fully behind him saying, I don't want to pay this money like everything is cool. We don't know what the fuck we're gonna need later on.
Indeed.
You know, dirty Mac in politics, man.
Yeah, and I think your biggest point there is you don't know what the future holds for schools. So you're gonna dump all that fucking money, which you could use somewhere else for PPEs for these fucking hospitals and these fucking nursing homes, you know, to make sure the elderly are safe. Instead, you want to dump that, you know, into schools where we don't even know. You can tell kids to stay home. We see that the shit fucking worked at least for the last few months. You know, sure, there's some stressed out parents because their kids is bad as hell, or you know, or they're dumb as shit and they can't fucking figure out how many apples Mary got. But fucking for the most part, if you had to say, hey, for the next school year, we're gonna start off at home and we may not be back in school until, you know, maybe January 2021, you could probably do that and get by, and the teachers will get by, the students will get by, the parents will get by, and you'll be okay. So yeah, I mean, dumping that money there just to me it just doesn't sound fucking smart either.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean yeah, man, we just gotta hope everything that they do a little bit better job. They're gonna start phase 2 here, I want to say in Florida starts tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're going to allow barbershops to reopen, I believe hairstylists to reopen. I'm not sure if nail salons was part of that. I think they kind of pushed nail salons back for phase 2. Do you recall what that was, VP? Here in Florida, it starts tomorrow, or Orange County,
Yeah,
right?
I, I think I think all of those things are open. The nail salons, barbershops, restaurants, all that kind of thing. Just that I was gonna say diminished, but reduced capacity. And then certain like safety requirements like gloves and masks and that kind of thing there. But to the point that you were making earlier, not to belabor the point, like EJ said as well, part of the reason when you're seeing those things that you describe seeing, when you're driving home, and why the government didn't tell people who's essential and who's not essential, is that in a lot of these states, especially the ones that are Republican ran, they have this laissez-faire attitude towards government, towards governing, that people are going to do the right thing just because people do the right thing, and we've lived under a system like that before. And that's why you had 8-year-old kids who worked in mines, and you had 10-year-olds who were a pack a day smokers by that point, because they had full-time jobs at 10 years old, and lost an arm or leg doing all of this crazy shit, until the government finally stepped in and said, hey, children need to go to school and not be working in a fucking factory at 10 years old, and they changed a lot of those things. Companies don't dump poison into rivers because they're just good guys. They do it because the government has laws and regulations that forbid them from doing it, and the more that the government takes its hand off the wheel and stops minding the store, companies and businesses are going to do whatever it is that they can do to make more money, because that's what businesses are here for. They're here. Businesses are in the business of making money. It doesn't matter if they make pharmaceuticals or fucking cheeseburgers. It's all about making money, and they're gonna do whatever is possible to continue to make money and make as much money as possible. So, to your point, that's where you need the government to step in and say, hey, this is what is essential. This, and this. It's support functions and corollaries and things like that. And then everything else, stay the fuck at home. And like you said, Steve, I want a nice fucking cheeseburger too. But you know what? Next time you go shopping, buy some goddamn ground beef and cook one, you know? And you
Son
know,
of a bitch.
but a lot of times you're not going to have the government that's willing to do that, because in this country, you know, we want it now. We want it fast. We want everybody to be happy. Nobody to feel any pain and things like that. And that's just not how life works, you know, but we want to pretend that it does.
Let me take just real quick to correct. It's not actually considered phase 2. It's the second part of phase 1, where they're opening hair and nail salons on Monday, starting tomorrow. So phase 2, though, they're saying gyms and bars and nightclubs, sporting events, all with minimal amount of people. There's still not a date for that. But I do know that, you know, here in Orlando and Florida, at least, motherfuckers don't seem to be caring, because the traffic was outlandish the last couple of days. I see, you know, motherfuckers all over the beach, posting beach photos and shit like that. You know, I drove by some restaurants and some stores, you know, on the way to work yesterday, and I noticed that there was people parked in there, and there was people eating there. You know, some people on sidewalk eating and stuff like that outside, which is, you know, I think that's okay, and I think that should have been what they started with. Hey, if you have outside dining, outside eating, then that's good to go. But the indoor shit, the inside, yeah, can't really contain that too much, because everybody doesn't have good hygienes or manners, man. But yeah, man, I'm off of that. We're about 40 minutes in, so don't want to kind of continue to dwell on this pandemic. We just gotta hope for better leadership from now until election day, and hopefully things change there after. Man, something was on my something.
Yo,
Go ahead.
Yo, we didn't it's a few things we got that I know we talked about prior. I don't know what you were just thinking, but we didn't talk about Uncle Joe's accusations. Me can get a little toxic about that.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, shout out to
On Mother's Day? No?
Little Richard. Rest in peace, Little Richard. Passed away yesterday. It's a loss for
Indeed.
us. So definitely shout out to him. But yeah, have at it. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah.
I want a long life. I want to hear what you got to say about the false accusations.
I mean, I want to take another time out, to celebrate and praise VP's conversion from womanhood back to manscape.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
This is another one of those cases where, you know what I'm saying, you have 20-year-old plus accusations, people in this Me Too society, this cancel culture. Hey, Joe Biden's catching fire. And for the record, I have not been a Joe Biden supporter throughout the entire election. This is not personal for me in any way. He did something to me. It happened though at that event we were at together. That happened some time ago. Oh, we do some digging. Ma'am, he wasn't there.
He didn't even show up, bitch.
He wasn't there. He was somewhere else. Oh yeah, it wasn't that one. It was the other one.
Might have been the year before.
No, not quite. You know what I mean? And just accusation and shot after shot. And thankfully and luckily, Uncle Joe is so insulated, so loved, and so supported that yes, of course, they're gonna investigate, they're gonna make this a point, but this is the shit. And I think VP has always had the best outlook on this, saying that, I don't believe that everyone, is basically telling the truth, but everyone deserves to be heard. Their story, deserves to have some kind of thought towards it, some type of insight, some voice. They need to have some voice. But this is the shit. This is the shit that we've been talking about, that black men specifically and largely have been victim to, that go run tell that cried wolf syndrome here, with people just throwing shit against the wall to get somebody jammed up. I mean, it's fucked up.
And
It
hoping
is
it
fucked
sticks.
up. And say it again.
I said, and throwing shit against the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah. And I mean, in this instance, Joe has let's just say he has the privilege of an old white man. Number one, he is rich, he was the VP, and he is a powerful man. But I mean, this is the shit. And it's got to stop, because it takes away the value of those who really need justice, who really need to be heard. This is the bullshit. I'll let y'all have at it.
So, so there are two things there about what you brought up here. When you have the one accusation about the event where it was Christine O'Donnell, who's a former Republican candidate for Senate in Delaware. She ran against Joe Biden in 08. And she alleges that Joe Biden sexually harassed her niece, who at the time was like 14 or 15 years old or something like that. He was talking to her and like staring at her breasts and all kind of shit like that or whatever at this political dinner called the Gridiron Dinner. And reporters went back and found out that when she said this happened, Biden wasn't even at the event. He had surgery that day, so he didn't attend the event. He sent like a political aide or something like that. So then Christine O'Donnell comes back and says, now that I think about it, I think it was the year before, in 2007. And then she goes on to say, and that makes it even worse because she wasn't 14 and she was 13, And so the media went back and looked, and Joe Biden was running for president at that time in 2007. So his campaign's website was still archived on the internet. So they pulled up his old campaign website and pulled up his schedule for the time that she alleged that this happened. And Joe Biden wasn't, according to the schedule on the archive website, he was in Iowa. But, you can't just take the schedule's word for it. They could have said he was one place, he was somewhere else. So that same reporter went and found local news articles from the local paper in Iowa saying, hey, Biden was at this event talking about, natural gas or something like that, And then so Christine O'Donnell finally gets to the point to where she's like, well, I'm not going to throw out any more dates, but it happened, And so, so there was that bullshit or whatever. But the main story that's getting the juice is this story from this woman, Tara Reid, who was a staffer for Joe Biden in the 90s. And she alleges 27 years ago in 1993 that Joe Biden pinned her up against a wall and forcibly fingered her, basically, sexually assaulted her.
Grabbed her by the
and
pussy?
she doesn't and she doesn't remember the date that it happened. She just knows that it happened in 1993. And the reason that I wanted to tell the first part of what I just said is specifically for this reason, right? She's telling you that it happened in 93, but she doesn't know when in 93. And why that's important is that because Joe Biden is not just some guy. He's a senator, right? And so people could go back and say, if you say, hey, this happened on July 15th in 1993, and they say, well, shit, Joe Biden was in Saudi Arabia talking to the king about oil prices, you see what I'm saying? So by just saying it happened in this year, no, it's hard to corroborate. And then her story keeps changing. And that's the reason why I don't believe this woman. And I read an article in Vox this week, and I have it pulled up here. I'm going to give you this quote that she said when she first approached a Vox reporter about this story. And the reporter talks about in the story, I wanted to report this so bad. She's reported on a lot of stuff during Me Too. And she says specifically that Tara Reid told her, quote, "This is not a story about sexual misconduct. It is a story about abuse of power. It is a story about when a member of Congress allows staff to threaten or belittle or bully on their behalf, unchecked to maintain power rather than modify the behavior," unquote. So when she was pitching this story a year ago, she says it's not about sexual assault. It's about abuse of power and belittling people and that kind of thing, you know. And she has other quotes, not in this story, but that I've read in other media reports talking about, yeah, that whole sexual harassment, it wasn't that kind of vibe in Joe Biden's office. In 2017, she went on Twitter when Joe Biden was supporting people in the Me Too movement, saying, "That's my old boss," you know. So who the fuck talks like that about somebody who sexually assaulted them?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's
And
things like this is
Stockholm
why I
syndrome.
don't believe this woman.
Damn sure ain't Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, and we
Damn sure
say,
ain't.
you know, one thing we've always, well, not you, VP, but one thing we've always said that's always pissed you off is that that it's a woman's world, right? And when stuff like this comes out, court of public opinion usually has people fucking guilty. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, to some of the points that you've made in the past, and some of the things that I think EJ and I have stressed is that the number of these cases that turn out to be invalid are now making people question you know, the validity of shit, right? Even more so, obviously, it's Joe Biden, a fucking president. You know, maybe it would be a little different if it was, you know, Tyquise Johnson from fucking Third Street, but fucking, you know, it's you know, normally somebody immediately would, you know, people would jump on and be like, yo, this nigga Biden is wilding, you know what I'm saying? But I think some people did some research pretty quickly, and you know, information came out and protected his you know, his reputation a little bit, because you know, it all started, and I think, you know, they look at what the hot topic is and they try to piggyback off of it. Remember that one where they said that he hugged that girl or whatever. What was that?
Held her hand or something.
Held her hand, right. The one that was talking about being sexually assaulted.
Well, that particular woman didn't say that she was sexually assaulted. The point that she was making was that she was invited to introduce Biden at an event at the White House about college rape survivors, which she was one of. And she said that at the time she didn't feel like anything was wrong, but looking back on it, she feels like because she's a rape survivor, not just because she's a rape survivor, but especially that she's a rape survivor, Biden shouldn't have just thought that it was okay to just hold her hand and things like that, you know, because he doesn't know what type of trauma or whatever, you know, she got going on. And I agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, you know, this thing happened 10 years ago, and now we're going back to say, you know what, at the time I didn't think it was wrong, but now that I'm looking through it through my 2019 lens, you know, shit wasn't okay, you know. So that kind of seems to be the problem. Now, to the point that you made, Steve, about it, you know, it's Uncle Joe and people seem to have let it move on. Me and EJ have disagreed about this some in the chat, and the reason that I don't agree that people are moving on is because, as you guys know, I consume a lot of media. And while the people who are like us, the people who we see on our timelines, on our various social media and things like that, they seem to have moved on. The media hasn't. And the people who are still out there pushing this story a lot are a lot of Bernie supporters who are, you know, big on Twitter and big on YouTube and things like that. And they're pushing this story hard. And the thing that I don't see being talked about a lot in mainstream media, as well as like left-wing media, is the inconsistencies in this woman's story. They bring up the fact that, oh, she has these corroborating witnesses who say that what she's saying, she told them back in the 90s or whatever. But what they're not telling you is, like this reporter that I'm reading from Vox, who's one of the first people who Tara Reid pitched this story to, they're not telling you that, hey, she pitched this story to me. I talked to those people, and they basically told me what she told me at the time, which was, yeah, it wasn't really a sexual harassment kind of vibe. She just didn't like the bullying kind of thing in the office. And now those people have changed the story. Her brother was interviewed by the Washington Post, and he said, yeah, she told me that she was very upset about something that happened in the office, back in the 90s. She told me about it, da da da. He never mentions anything about a rape or a sexual assault. The interview is over, and then it seems like maybe he talks to the sister, like, yeah, I told him this, told him that, da 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 da. And then he hits up the reporter by text and says, oh, hey, I forgot to tell you about, she did tell me that she got sexually assaulted too. Like, what the fuck, dog? Like, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying?
It's vicious. It's vicious, man. It's a vicious cycle. We've seen it happen all too many times in this nation. Unfortunately for us as black men, not black men, black men, we've been on the short end of that, jailed, killed, etc. And like Steve said, the court of public opinion is a motherfucker, man. And yeah.
And the thing, EJ, too, like that worries me about this thing, like speaking about it from a political sense, is that because of how big coronavirus is, and then there's only so much news that can be consumed, right? And the main story right now is coronavirus, the amount of cases, and the amount of death that's out there, and the economy, the amount of people who are losing their jobs and lining up at food banks, etc. Right? And what scares me is that I believe what's going to happen is that this Joe Biden story is going to be shelved. It's going to be put on the shelf. And then as things start to slow down at some point with coronavirus, maybe the economy starts doing a little bit better with things reopening, they go ahead and dust this thing off the shelf. And then to people who don't pay attention, because a lot of people don't consume news the way that you and I do, they're just living their life. The media pulls this thing off the shelf, dust it off, and then people are like, holy shit, Joe Biden raped somebody? And it starts all over again, like it's this brand new thing that just came out of nowhere, and the way that the bullshit reporting with not reporting on all the inconsistencies in the story is also not done then, and then it hurts Biden. And then when people try to say, well, Trump's grabbing him by the pussy, what about Biden? I mean, he's over there finger fucking people in the Senate, so it worries me, man. This election is too much at stake right now, and it really worries me the way that this thing is being covered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure they'll have a timely resurface of the story. We know that's going to happen after the economy is quote unquote reopened. People start to see a little bit of increase in their 401ks. You know what I mean? Making about $20 back a day. They'll feel they'll feel super accomplished. Like, oh, Trump did turn shit around. Look at that. And boom. In addition to that, now you guys are putting up a pussy grabber up against Trump. How dare thee? How dare thee? Shit, man. Fucking while we're here, man, we may as well talk about it. Another black man. I mean, only we could find a way. Only America could find a way for a black man to be shot while jogging and murdered on the side of the road in the middle of a fucking pandemic, huh? That shit's rough, man. Just kind of thinking it through, understanding that we have young children. Yourself, VP, your son is closer to, the age of which he'll be out in public, potentially at risk. My son is much younger, but knowing that they could be out there and their safety can be compromised by something so fucking stupid like this, you know, it's rough. It's rough.
No, it definitely is rough, man. It's you know, it's just another thing like added to the list. And I think when black people say this, it sounds like we're joking about it, but it's another thing added to the list of things that black people can't do. You know, um, this guy is going out jogging, and then he's essentially chased down like some fucking wild animal and killed because someone thought that quote unquote he was a burglary suspect or whatever, and it just shows you the the thinking of people in this country, like this is the old wild west and vigilante justice and those kinds of things, that somebody sees a person who they believe could be a burglary suspect, right? Why not just call 911 and say, hey, the guy who's on the news, I think I just saw him, running down the street on, First Street or whatever, heading this direction.
Right.
And then let the cops handle it from there. But instead of that, you go arm yourself, jump in your vehicle, chase this man down, and then kill him when he attempts to defend himself. And then for the prosecutor who initially reviewed the case to come out and say, nothing to see here. These people acted in self-defense. And this thing here, Steve, this is the argument that I know we've had disagreement on it, but this is the argument that I was making with the Trayvon Martin situation, right? Where somebody, the black person, is minding their fucking business, and then they're hunted down by this person, and then they say, I'm defending myself. But what about that person's right to defend themselves? There are armed men in the South chasing me, and then we see from the video they're not even in the car. One's driving, one's on the back of the pickup truck like he's riding a fucking horse or something. You know what I mean? And they're running up on me. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to, they got guns and shit. You know what I mean? So like, where's my ability to defend myself? This whole thing is just fucked, man. And it just goes. It's another feather in the cap to say it's open season on black people. Kill them on sight, and nothing will happen to you.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Ahmaud Arbery. If I pronounce that correctly. But yeah, I mean, and EJ, I'll let you get in here. I just wanted to reply to VP. I think the harder part there is, there's video, right? There's video evidence here. Whenever we have the conversations about Trayvon Martin and Zimmerman, it's not so much whether right or wrong. For me, it's what was proven versus, one story, right? In that instance. In this instance, we saw the video. We saw that they decided, hey, we see this man jogging, we got guns, let's go ahead and approach him, and there was really nothing he could do. There's no way for him to, had he run away or gone another way, they might have shot him in his fucking back. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's nasty. It's nasty.
Oh, go ahead, well, I definitely hear you, Steve. The thing about the thing about the Trayvon Martin situation, where the reason I disagree with it, whether or not there was video, is that we have George Zimmerman on the 911 call, right? And he says to the 911 operator something along the lines of, these fucking guys just keep getting away with everything. And a statement like that, to me at least, it shows me Zimmerman's intent, right? Because he's pissed off at his perception that, these fucking guys are running the street, doing whatever the fuck they want to do, and they're getting away with it. And I'm going to put a stop to that shit. The 911 operator tells him, we don't need you to do that. We're sending somebody. We're on the way. Back the fuck off. Let us, who are deputized by the state, handle this shit. And he decides, nope, fuck that. I'm going to get out of my car with my gun. and then I'm gonna confront this kid. Now here you have this 15-year-old black man walking home in the rain. Somebody's following him in a car. He doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Now they just approached me, and yeah, the nice thing would be to talk it out and say, hey man, why are you following me? Like, what's going on, right? But that's not the world we live in when kids are being fucking kidnapped and raped and sold into sexual slavery and shit like that. People aren't gonna just come out and say, hey man, how come you've been following me for a block? Like, what's going on, dude? You know what I mean? People are in fucking fight or flight mode at that point, you know? And so while I understand the point that you make about Trayvon, at the same time, I can understand him having some level of fear, saying, I don't know why the fuck this dude is following me. He just approached me. You know, I got to defend myself because what the fuck? You know, now in Zimmerman's account, because he's no longer on the phone with 911, he's telling us he walked up to Trayvon and then Trayvon just started fucking him up, started fighting him. I don't know if it happened that way. You know, it may have, it may not. But even if it did happen that way, I can understand it simply because you are following me and now you're approaching me. It's dark. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I got to defend myself.
Yeah, I mean, and see, and that's the thing, right? It just depends on how you paint the picture is how it comes out. When you talk about intent, right? That it's your thought pattern on the intent, right? So, and again, not saying right or wrong, whether it was right to do it or not, but when you make it seem like his intent was, fuck it, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. You know what I mean? I think, it's someone can say the same and say, hey, well, my intent is, even though I was told not to approach, I'm gonna make sure this person, if he truly, right, and we know hindsight's 2020, fucking psycho, but when you're listening to it after it happens, the intent could you could take it as, you know what, I'm just gonna make sure that this guy is here when the cops get here. He's not gonna get away. They're not gonna keep robbing this area, right? He jumps out. Now we also hear the conversation where Trayvon was on the phone with old girl. I forget her name.
Yeah.
And she tells him, hey, just Rachel Jean something like that. She tells him, keep it moving. You know what I mean? And he tells her, nah, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, yeah, sure, I get it. We, us as a people, as a culture, we have a different mind state, and we turn around. But that comes down to, we know what's going on in today's society. We see these people getting shot. We see people, taking black people as target practice. As a parent, you need to make sure that your kid knows, do not put yourself in that situation. If you have the opportunity to get away, it's better for you to do that than to just be like, fuck it. If he approaches me, it's just gonna be on. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody is gonna sit there and fucking throw hands with you. Not everybody's gonna take that L. And we've talked about that when it comes to cops. You see these black cops get into it, you see them lose. They lose at times, or they get punched in the face, or they deal with it, but they're not out there shooting motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? These white cops, they start to lose, they pull out and they shoot. They shoot nigga in the back. Sometimes they don't even let the fight begin. And we're seeing that. And that's my whole point is, again, not saying that there was right or wrong, simply saying two things. One, based on the story, we only got one story. You know what I'm saying? If me and you get into a fight in my backyard and you end up dead, it's my story against nobody's. So you can't prosecute me based on your story. That's number one. And then number two, parenting. You gotta teach your kids to, I mean, whether it's right or wrong that somebody is bothering them or somebody is chasing them or stalking them or following them, sure, absolutely, I agree with you. It's wrong that he did it. He was told not to. But my son will know when he gets to that older age, if you're walking at night and somebody starts to follow you and you have an opportunity to go. Don't fucking turn around, and no matter who it is, whether it's a young dude, whether it's a hood dude, whether it's a white dude, no matter who it is, the only people you stop for is fucking cops.
And even that is in question.
And now, yeah.
Well, it's always been. I mean, like I always tell people these days, and I had this conversation with young dudes. I tell young dudes, I say, just to that point, I said, you young dudes that are active in the streets and doing shit. These motherfuckers are so emboldened and so brash, they just don't get it. They don't understand that the law is inherently on their side. Because in our day, we ran. You know what I mean? Cops, if you wanted to get this ass whooping off me, you gonna work, boy. You know what I'm saying? But larger issue that I have, we're all black men, and it's just there's a war on black men. There always has been. Stop putting us in the stratosphere of the white man. Stop saying we have black male privilege because we're physically big and strong. Stop looking at us one day as the scum of the earth, but then the next day, R.I.P. when some foul shit happens to us.
Mm-hmm.
This country, our people, our culture, we have to, the same way we praise our little black girls and women, we have to start doing the same for our boys and our men. Largely because of the crime and everything else that happens, but also because we are fucking endangered. If it isn't the police, if it isn't the system, if it isn't the court of public opinion, it's shit like this where we could just be gunned down, confronted, locked up, choked out, shot. Shot when I'm telling you I have a gun and I'm complying. I mean, shot on my way to my apartment, turning my key to my door. What else do we have to fucking see that black men, yes, black lives matter and they seemingly don't matter, but black men are at the epicenter we're not the epicenter at the forefront of this. We're losing black men to so much petty bullshit, and it's shit like this that has to remind people and be put on display that black men are fucking targets. We're walking fucking targets, man. And it's evident. It's evident. I'm not saying to say one struggle is worse than the other or harder than the other. I'm just saying we have to have more conversations around the preservation of life of the black man. And I say that to say I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Black people, we need to start arming ourselves, especially in these red states where these motherfuckers are armed to the teeth, especially in these states or these instances like in Michigan where these motherfuckers are storming the Capitol. And we got to get brothers from the community to protect a black politician while she's going on her way to work. We got to be armed, because the guns aren't killing the people in all of these instances. It's the people. It's their intent. It's their operation. And not saying anything about rifles versus handguns. I'm just saying, black people, we need to be fucking armed. We need to be armed mentally, physically, and we need to have some weaponry, man. If you're in the state of Georgia or any of the red states where you can carry, fucking get it. Get it. You know what I mean? Because these motherfuckers are leaving you no choice. I know it doesn't promote the best civic outcome, but I mean, shit, man. I mean, what other option are we fucking coming to? And that's just the little way how I feel. I don't know that him being armed would have prevented this situation. Not saying that at all, but
No.
I'm just saying that this ideology behind how these people were just living and going along, knowing they shot and killed the dude, and they just were carrying on.
Like it was nothing.
This was their intent. Yeah, like it was nothing. This was their intent. Who knows if they had done it before or not? You know what I'm saying? We we got to protect ourselves. We just have to, as legally and as safely as possible. We have to. And I told y'all, about the incident I had not incident, but about what happened yesterday. And I mean, I made light of it. But these two white guys were driving around. In Baltimore is a very different dynamic depending on where you are. But I could tell these two dudes. I've seen the car before. I've seen them kind of around before. They're like either alcoholics or drug guys or whatever, and they basically got out beefing and they were tussling, and they were like at the street corner by my house, and I basically had to be like, "Hey, get your ass in the car, get the fuck out of here." You know what I'm saying? Because me and the kids are coming out, and I basically told them to go back in, and they were on my mother's side of the house, and essentially I said, and I fussed at these guys saying that. They complied, man, but my first instinct, I went and got that hammer just in case. Just in case. I don't know if dudes would have acted different. Who knows what could have happened? But I'm definitely on high alert, man. Fuck it. I'd rather be here than not. That's all I got on that, man. Rest in peace to the young brother.
You forgot two things. One thing, you can be a minor playing with a toy gun and get shot. Or you can be I lost track of the second one I was thinking about because you got so far into it. But you can be a minor you can be a minor playing with a toy gun and get shot. Or you can be a woman at a random police stop and end up dead in a jail cell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm 100% on board with you. We're an endangered species. We are targeted. And I do also agree that, you have to arm yourself. But in addition to arming yourself, it's not just arming yourself. It's also arming yourself and making sure that you're fully familiar and aware and trained on how to use whatever you're carrying. And also arm yourself with the patience to not make a rash decision, right? Because it's very easy, especially when you're younger, to first thing you think of is I got to pull out. You know what I mean? Or I have it with me, I have it on me, I'm good, And I think that's the biggest thing for people to keep in mind. It's necessary to be armed because they are, right? If they're going to be armed, and not speaking to, the boys in blue, I'm talking more to the good old boys like we saw in that video. And the biggest thing to your point is, again, they killed this man. They killed this man back in February. If this asshole who was part of it did not allow this video somehow to surface, if he had just deleted this video from his phone and it never surfaced, this man would have been dead and nobody would have ever known that these three men took part in it, and they'd be walking free today. And if we didn't allow it to go viral, these niggas would have never been picked up. They wouldn't have been scooped up. And even so, even though it did come to light, the fucking DA told them not to scoop these dudes up. So again, it comes down to us having to be viral to make something go viral for action to be taken, which is the biggest issue, and again, like you said, everybody's, oh, rest in peace, rest in peace. All right, use the fucking stage. Like, and that goes to everybody. I'm not talking about just the white celebrities. I'm talking about the black celebrities. I'm talking about the Swiss Beats. I'm talking about all these motherfuckers that go out there, and when something happens, they're quick to get on live. They're quick to post these shits. They're quick to try and help the shit go viral. The only motherfucker that's really fucking staying on top of this shit anytime, whether something's happening or not, is fucking Sean King. And he's a white man. And that motherfucker is on top of these shits. He's finding these things. Because if he wasn't finding them, we wouldn't even know about them. Because these motherfuckers are not using their fucking platform for it. That's the Swiss Beats. That's the Jay-Z. That's the fucking Joe Buttons. That's all these motherfuckers, man. I expect more from them. You have the fucking platform. Try to make a fucking difference. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I mean, I hear.
Yeah, we've said that. Now, go ahead, VP.
No, I was going to say, I definitely hear what you're saying, Steve. The thing that I would add is not necessarily from when you're dealing with the good old boys, but when you're dealing with the cops, is also arm yourself mentally, because a lot of interaction with that people in general, but black people specifically, when they have interaction with cops, these interactions, they don't know what their rights are, you know, and a lot of things that you can do when you, one of the worst things that you can do, I'll say, when interacting with cops is you start running your fucking mouth, you know, and that shit ends up getting you in trouble because the things that you say can and will be used against you. You know, that's in your Miranda rights when they read them to you, you know. And you
When
know, I
they read
think
them.
that people, yeah, but I think that people definitely need to understand, you know, what their rights are in their specific states. And like Steve said, you know, pack your patience, you know, because sometimes these cops, I'm not saying it's right, but they're going to talk to you a certain kind of way because they're looking to get that rise out of you. So that way, once you give them what they want, they got that pretense to then pull you out of the car. Now, because you're amped up, I'm not getting out of the car. And now you're resisting at this point. You see what I'm saying? And then you don't call a charge over some bullshit mentally, you know, where you necessarily haven't really done anything wrong, but you done got yourself in trouble mentally, you know. So arm yourself with the knowledge of knowing, you know, what's required in your particular state, and then, you know, take things from there or whatever. You know, do you live in a stop and ID state? You know, what questions are you required to answer legally? You know, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube with these guys who call themselves like First Amendment auditors, where they basically use their rights against the police, you know. And you know, some of these guys don't really know what the fuck they're talking about, and others do. They're citing certain provisions of the code, you know, that says they can do this, they can't do that, or whatever. You know, and the cops like, hey, what are you doing? Da, da, da. Like, yo, I don't answer questions. Well, I just asked you. I don't answer questions. You know, Title 6 subsection blah 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 says I don't. You know what I mean?
That don't
And
work for us.
you know, and well, no, I've seen black people do it too. I saw a guy in Texas. The cop pulled him over, and he was asking the dude questions. He was like, "Yo, I don't answer questions." And the cop says, "Well, you have to do da da da." The dude pulled out the printout saying, "Well, here's the law right here about traffic stops that says da 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 da." And he was like, "And if you need to read it, it's taped to my back window." Oh, you know, and you know, and so at that point in this particular video, the cop starts talking to him a little more aggressively, trying to get a rise out of him. The dude just stays calm, you know, does the things that he's legally required to do. And the cop ends up letting him go with no ticket, no warning, no citation, nothing, because this dude knows what the fuck's going on. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I feel like a lot of times we get in these situations where it's like, you know, I wish a motherfucker would, you know, and I'm not saying that it's right to have a cop or, you know, somebody who works in the government who works, you know, who's paid by the dollars that we pay in taxes to treat us like shit. But you have to understand is that you are a black man, you are a black woman, and that's already seen as a problem. So, you know, you already got that strike against you. Don't add to it by, you know, mouthing off and shit like that. You know what the fuck you're talking about and what you are allowed and have to do and things like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Because that should just, I mean, I'd caution people against that. I think that's how shit has.
And you know, let me say one more thing about this, about the brother in Georgia. You know, the thing that was so disgusting to me was that EJ brought up the point of how, or it might have been Steve, I'm not sure who, about how the local prosecutor didn't bring the charges.
Yeah.
And I read an article from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution saying that the cops were ready to arrest. And it was the prosecutor who said, nah, you know, everything's all good here, nothing to see here, you know. And what's amazing to me is that once this story went viral and the state people took it over, the GBI or something like that, they're called, Georgia Bureau of Investigations or something like that. Once they took over the case from the local authorities, they took this case over and 2 days later arrested these men, right? And what's amazing about that to me is that this thing happened back in February, as was mentioned earlier. These cops on the state level, they didn't see any, they basically seen photos and police reports. That's it. It's basically reading and looking at pictures versus the people who were on the ground, who saw the dead bodies, who talk to the people live, who were there in the moments after things happen and are saying, nothing to see here. You bring in somebody else who's only looking at paperwork and saying, yo, this was a murder, and dudes are arrested. And that's the problem with the system, with the good old boy network, because we find out later one of the dudes is a former cop and worked for this prosecutor as an investigator, and it seems like there's some kind of connection here to where it's like, oh, I got to protect the homie, and so we're not gonna file any charges. And I just thought that shit was so fucking disgusting, man.
But going back to Steve's point, and this is something that he and I have agreed with for a long time and continually outrages me, and it goes back to my original thoughts. Colin Kaepernick, the outrage over the NFL and not allowing him to have a job, when the whole premise of his protests was the police brutality aspect. But at the core of it, it's black men being killed, black people being killed, being arrested for no reason. And then you have the corruption that VP's pointing out. Where are the Killer Mikes? Where are the TIs? Where are the Jay-Z's? Where are all of these people where our whole focus, our whole agenda, these people in these leadership positions or capacities that are on the soapbox fighting and crying for Cap to get an opportunity to play football, but we're not on this shit 24/7 about preserving lives and making a difference. And this is why I always say we're a fickle people. I don't know what they might be brewing up. Let's be fair to them. I don't know what they might be brewing up. I don't know what they might be doing. I don't know what they're trying to do. But perception is reality, and pushing the culture and the needle forward, moving the needle the same way that they promote the new shows, the new money, the new things that keep them rich and comfortable. When are they really truly going to tackle this problem, these problems that we're having, and really push things forward? Because for this to happen in the state of Georgia, Killer Mike is in Atlanta. He was on the bullhorn for Bernie Sanders. Why did it take 2 months for all of us to hear about this? Why isn't there more public opinion, public talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
And we as a people, and I'm not condemning us because we did not shoot this man. Wasn't another brother that shot this man. But we as a people have to start valuing ourselves more often. We have to stop being reactionary and start being more proactive. It shouldn't take for this to happen and months later for the push to have started.
And EJ, I don't want to disagree with the point that you made about, some of these folks who were, out there beating the drum about Kaepernick and have been silent on this. The one thing that I wonder, though, not trying to push back on your point, is like I talked about earlier when we talked about coronavirus. I wonder how much that being such a big story, it drowned this out. You know what I mean? And I get it that there's still social media. People could have been talking about it on Instagram or Facebook, which is where where Sean King does a lot of his activism, like Steve mentioned earlier. So those guys like the TIs and Killer Mikes, etc., they could have been out there, talking about it as well. But I just wonder if coronavirus kind of drowned out this story being able to get any burn, being that it happened back in February and we just start hearing about it in late April.
Yeah, and you're right. Corona for the grand scheme of things, and I get your position, and I don't take it as pushback, and it is something to consider. And I inject this in the grand scheme of things, in national news and speculation and everything. Corona has taken a large part of this, right? But watch this out. Check this out. When black people are focused, when black and brown people, when people of oppression, people of color, even those allies, as they call it, that we have, like shit, Justin Timberlake commented on it. or whoever, when we're focused, we can achieve so much. We looked at the versus battle last night. Erica Badu versus Jill Scott. Ooh, Jill. Mm, made me leak my pants. But when we look at that battle, right? I can't tell you more than 2 to 3 Jill Scott songs. Erica Badu, maybe 5, 6. A lot of people in the world love their music though. A lot of people in the world love their music though. But they had up to 660 something thousand people watching at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine if we took that same energy as a community, and we can say shit, the world at large is worried about coronavirus. Yes, this is true. But us as a people, if we had all our focus and concentration on having our finger on the pulse on this stuff all the time, it's not going to overtake coronavirus for the society at large. But at least as a people, we can start to be unified and move on these things. And I think a large reason why we can't get that kind of solidarity is because we've come to be so arrogant in our ways, so educated and so privileged in our ways, that when one of us disagrees with one way, we don't want to be on board with that person. We don't want to, you know what I mean? The cancel culture shit. I mean, the infighting in the community between black and women currently. We can't get on the same page because, yeah, some foul motherfuckers on both sides of the pendulum, but we can't see the value in sticking together. We have the negative shows, the negative imagery, the niggas ain't shit. Like, I don't even, like I told you, I'm trying not to even say that out of respect to our elders. But then you got motherfuckers like Jay-Z saying, well, we took power of the word, to slapping people in the face that had to get dog sick on them while hearing that. You know what I'm saying? We as a community, man, we gotta get back to the bare bones and understand that because we're on TV, we're making a little bit of money. We don't have the liberty to pick and choose how and what issues we want to fight. We gotta kind of see that everything can be connected in some ways, and hey, we might not all agree on everything, but we gotta agree on something. We gotta agree that something needs to be done. And I think that's a large part of the thing. We can do it if we can get almost we can get almost hundreds of thousands of people on Instagram to listen to motherfuckers play music that we already have access to. You know what I'm saying? How can we not, push this agenda? And I think, and I agree with you, and I also take Steve's point. If we had more of these people that are supposed to be driving the culture, because they want to drive it when they pick and choose, right? Jay-Z, your whole point of getting involved with the NFL is to make more social action and more equity and all this other shit. Well, has he said anything about this?
No,
Not that I.
Does
not
he
at all.
ever does he ever come out and get behind a microphone or IG and literally say, "Hey, this is how I feel about this"? Or does it have to be reactionary to when it is a Trayvon situation that hit us all so deeply hard? What's the holdup? Why Bayhive has millions of people behind her?
That's
When did she come out and say this is a fucking outrage? Let's
she's
stand
not.
up.
She's not though. Like somebody like a Jay-Z or a Beyonce, I look at them as being like we saw in the Last Dance last week, right? Republicans buy CDs too, and you know, like I can't. I don't want to knock anybody's hustle or whatever, but I think that for them, it's like I'm gonna continue to be great in the music space by not offending anybody in the social space. And Beyonce has done certain things in her music, where she dresses up like the Black Panthers and put the fist
Mhm.
up and that kind of thing like that. But other than that, she's not out there. And Jay-Z's commented on things like what happened with Meek Mill with his situation and work to get him out and things like that. And then he talks about wanting to have a social justice platform with the NFL, but he's not really out there. And I think the reason being is that like I said earlier, with the whole comment Jordan made, even though Jordan says that was taken out of context, etc., is that, you know, Republicans buy CDs too. And you know, it's sad, man, but you're right. And I've made the point countless times, you know, in our private chats, this podcast, about how people line up for the new PlayStation, Xbox, new J's come out. You know, people are online ready to go to click. They're standing in line at fucking Foot Locker before it even opens, and all that kind of thing. You know, but people don't get out to vote. People aren't getting out to protest when, you know, things like this happen. What happened to this guy in Georgia, you know? And I firmly believe that part of the reason why is that people take what we have for granted, because when we were born, you know, we didn't have to fight to sit where we wanted to sit on the bus, or to sit at a lunch counter, or to be able to use a certain bathroom, or whatever the case, right? And so we take those things for granted. You know, it's the same thing when you talk about things like abortion, for example. A lot of young women don't think that there's any issue with abortion rights and any other rights that, you know, women back in the, you know, since the 20s and the women's suffrage movement fought for, because they have those things already, you know, and so they take it for granted. And, you know, when you take those things for granted in that way, those things can easily be taken away or curtailed, you know, and they chip it off piece by piece by piece until it's gone. And I think that we as Black people need to wake the fuck up and understand that, like EJ said, you know, there seems to be a war on Black men, where there are Black men's lives aren't valued, and they can be easily snuffed out, and there are no repercussions when it happens, you know. The shit is sad, but we definitely gotta wake up to this shit, man.
Yep. When I popped into Versus last night, Jill Scott and Erykah Badu, there was 726,000 people in there. So that just goes to show there's those are stages, those are platforms. I get it. You don't always want to turn shit somber. You don't always want to speak negative, but guess what? Sometimes it's necessary. You know what I mean? You're gonna have a great show afterwards, but before we get fucking started, make sure your motherfuckers get out there and vote. Make sure that you go and you know, write a letter to your congressman, whoever the fuck needs to hear it. Go follow Sean King. He's putting together all types of fucking documents to send over for these types of shootings. Put that shit out there, man. 726,000. If fucking 10% of them do it, you good. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of fucking people. That's a lot of supporters. And then you move the fuck on and you have your show. But nobody's going to frown upon the next hour and a half of fucking entertainment because you took 3 minutes at the beginning to stand for something that's extremely important to us and our culture. And that's, you know, that's all I got to say on that, man. That's all.
But you know what else, Steve, though, the point that you made about, yeah, it is easy for, you know, Erykah Badu or Jill Scott or whoever to do that kind of thing, right? But it's not just them. The problem is also us, right? And I remember a couple of years ago, SNL did this skit called "Thank You, Scott" when Louis C.K. was the host. And in the video, he's watching like all of this shit happening, like wars in Africa and stuff like that. And then like it's like a song, right? And it's like, oh, Scott was getting pissed, so he picked up his phone and he said, #support Africa. And then he puts the phone down and sits back down on the couch. And it's like, thank you, Scott. You solve racism. Thank you, Scott. You know, and even though it's like a parody, it's a joke, but a lot of people think that, right? This dude gets shot in Georgia, and people will pick up their phone and say, "Oh, the police in Georgia are fucked up." Tweet, "I'm an activist." You know what I mean? And that's not how this shit works, yo. You know what I mean? Like, there are people like John Lewis who have been beat up and fucking hosed and all kind of shit like that, fighting for the things that they believe in, right? And I'm not saying go out there and get shot and get beat up by the cops and all that kind of shit like that. But activism has to be more than just posting some shit on Facebook. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to go out in the streets and protest, yeah, you might live in California. This shit happened in Georgia. that's fine. But there's other shit that you can do to support besides fucking posting some shit on Facebook. You know, you got 30
But
people who follow you on Facebook. Like, what impact are you having by saying some shit on Facebook? You know?
I talked about this. I talked about this in the past, and you know, a large part of that. I say it again, like I led with, we're fickle. We only talk about stuff when it's the wave and it's the movement. You're right, but I think celebrity influence could help people get more active in it. But to your other point of actual action, um, you know, years ago, strategically, I would say the Republican government, when it was involved, when it was running the show, made it more difficult for men, and I'm gonna say black men. If you look at that movie, Get on the Bus, the Million Man March, shit. I mean, you might not agree with a lot what Farrakhan says or does or has said or done, but you know, the action, the men, the leadership, it has become increasingly difficult for us to do this. Um, and then just the working people, period, because you know we have 9 to 5 jobs. You know, we're in positions where we can't go out there and have political opinions without fear of losing our jobs. And when they took money out of community organizing, that killed a lot of the things that we could do as black people. I went to school partially in my master's with a concentration in that. And I got to tell you, man, I feel very disappointed by the institution I got my second degree from, because my goal was to work in Annapolis, in lobbying, in other places, and I was passed over for white candidates who, you know, for whatever reason, were better than me. But they were being put in position to advocate on black issues. Um, how you have white people better served to advocate in black issues, I don't know, but I digress. We kind of need to get something that insulates us, that allows us to have that ability to get back out there and in the street. Part of my educational goal is to get in a place where financial, well, not even financially, but just career wise, in a position where I can have the freedom to just literally say what the fuck I want and just do what I want, and be able to be out here and, you know, do what's necessary, because it is difficult for the working men of our, and saying men, just, you know, being specific to us in our age group. I think where the celebrity comes in is college students historically, and college age students historically, have been the biggest influencers and change artists and change agents of this nation, bar none. Why? Because when you're in college, you can do anything. You can fuck up 15 different ways. As long as you don't kill anybody, somebody's gonna say, "Oh, they're fucking young college and they're dumb." But you also don't have the risk of losing your 9 to 5 job. You also don't run the risk of your kids don't go fucking hungry. And I think what we're seeing is, because we don't have the social capital, we don't have the political leadership that is encouraging our youth out there to go do something, we're not getting a lot of energy. I was in college. My last year of college was Obama's year, was that election year. Michelle came to our school when the Jenna 6 situation happened. We had rallies. I organized a busload of us to go to DC to march. I mean, granted, it was kind of dumb because the night before I was in DC drunk, but I had to come back to Delaware and then get on the bus. But it doesn't matter. Point is, you know, we did these things, and we were influenced by, you know, Michelle Obama. Dr. Ben Chavis came to our school. Um, Farrakhan, countless other people came out, they reached out and they touched us and they said, "You guys got to get mobile. You guys got to get active." Unfortunately, a lot of those people are dying off. They're gone. And the people that these kids are looking to, the Jay-Z's, the Beyoncé's, the Meg the Stallions. I mean, I can't put that much pressure on her. The all of these people, they're not doing it. And they're not doing it enough. And I think it's really going to take for us to get a grassroots, ground focused movement to really get these people mobilizing. And we just don't have it. And the people that have the capacity to do it, they're just as fickle as the people just picking up their phones and hashtagging.
Yep. And that's the exact point I was gonna make. The you know, to counter, to rebut what you said, VP. Yeah, we're part of the problem, but guess what? I got to get up and go to work. You know what I'm saying? And the ones that are doing that are getting up and tweeting and shit like that real quick, us working class, we got to do it, man. We got to get up, we got to go to work. But these motherfuckers got 24 hours a day where they could be out there bullshitting. They got lots and lots of fucking money and lots of time. They could be using that stage. And like you said, my 30 followers, my 50 followers, my 120 followers ain't shit compared to somebody that got 1.5 million followers. You know what I mean? So there's that. And man, we totally glossed over your fucking vacation getting canceled, man. That shit sucks. I know you that's your family, kind of your family tradition annually. So that's fucked up. Maybe hopefully we can have our, oh man, we might have to have our fucking fantasy football draft virtually.
Yeah.
Oh, shocker.
Man, we gonna have to do that shit on video chat or something. I ain't doing that shit on just some fucking Yahoo shit. We gonna have to get creative with that motherfucker. Oh man, but damn, yeah, man, fucking to your point, man, they're starting to open up fucking the cruises. That's gonna be popping open. I see airline tickets have skyrocketed, which means motherfuckers was probably sitting there spending their fucking stimulus on the what if tickets.
The airlines are some fucking scumbags, yo.
Yeah.
They scumbags.
Yeah, they about to burn too. Some of them motherfuckers not gonna make it. Some of them not gonna make it. Like JetBlue talking about they requested to stop flying into 25 different airports around the United States. So yeah,
It's fucking nuts.
yeah,
Coronavirus.
Yep.
it just sucks, man. You guys are probably
2 hours in and we didn't even say where to be found.
they can find us everywhere.
Cash me outside.
Scrolling on the bottom.
Right. Yeah, find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Pod Demon, Podlicious, anything on fucking K-Pods for your fucking coffee machine.
Yo, you're wild.
Type in cast.
You're out of control. You're out of control. This motherfucker's out of control. Pod Demon. That's a new one. That sounds like a good one. It doesn't. I don't know if it exists, but it sounds like a good one.
Just because demon is the new shit, huh? Demon?
Yeah, demon time. This is episode 54, actually, though, for the record.
Did I say 53? Damn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You and Button, same shit.
I can't be perfect, man. I can't be perfect. Close to it, but not there. Not quite.
I just like to take some time and send my prayers to Ravens Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas.
Oh yeah, crazy woman syndrome. Crazy woman syndrome.
He had a good Goodfellas Karen moment.
Isn't that like the same McNair type story? Steve McNair ish? Was it McNair?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the other?
Well, his girl killed him, didn't she?
I mean, yeah. I'm just saying a similar story. Listen, listen. I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. Man, listen. Kanye said it. Once you get on, Leo, ask for a white girl. They need to get themselves. These minority women are crazy, dog. They are. Woo, man.
You do realize you're married to a minority woman, right?
Oh my goodness, yo.
She's fucking crazy.
Oh man,
She's crazy,
wow.
dog. They have that level, man. They have that crazy, like they say the women's strength, where that one woman lifted the car to save her kid. Women got them levels, man. You see levels of crazy, but once you get them, you push them to that edge. Shit like this Earl Thomas shit happens, man. She had she had this dude at gunpoint in his house, probably with his gun.
Yeah. No, I think it was at the Airbnb. He got caught with his brother running the train, running the Trisnang thing to you, running Trisnang.
I mean, I think it's easy. I think it's easy to call her crazy when she's probably been cheated on a bunch of times and shit. Like
Oh, here we go.
Like remember the
Here we
story.
go. So Lawrence should have pulled the strap on Issa then, huh?
like remember the story, EJ, you posted in the chat about the NBA dude who had a whole nother family, and then his side got murdered or something.
Yeah, Eddie Curry. Eddie Curry.
You know what I mean? So she could have been a chick like that who's like, yo, I'm tired of this shit, yo.
You can't be out here justifying her holding this man at gunpoint.
I'm not saying it's right. Because I'm not saying it's right.
Yo.
But a motherfucker only can take so much,
Yo, and then she said, but it wasn't. It wasn't loaded. Didn't know it was one in the chamber though. Hey yo, hey yo.
Listen, and this goes back to shit that what I always say, and Vari always calls me crazy for it. When you came into when she came into that relationship, she probably had a fucking 02 Honda Accord with the ceiling falling and fucking check engine light on and all that shit. You know what you're getting into when you get with an athlete. Like listen, man. If Rebecca Lobo called me today and we got together and I caught Rebecca Lobo cheating, I get it. I get it. Rebecca,
you got that, big dog. You got that.
Yeah, I mean,
you got that, big dog.
I'm coming into it with my MacBook Pro. You know what I'm saying? My fucking Volkswagen. In this life that she about to put me through, hey, I could deal with a little bit of cheat. As long as she don't bring up.
Not only that, though. Not only that, going back to the story at hand, stop nagging over this man drinking. I mean, he wanted drink, add a little something, let him drink. They said she was beefing with him about drinking too much. So you know what he did? He left the fucking house and got drunk anyway and went to get some pussy. If you just left him the fuck alone, huh? Okay, let him have his drink in the house. What the fuck? What's the problem?
Or don't search. You look for something, you might find it. You know what I'm saying? That's the age-old tale. That's the age-old tale. Dudes don't search. You know what it is? If we keep it 100, dudes don't check. I mean, unless they insecure, but dudes don't check their women's phones and shit because we can't deal with it.
We don't give a fuck.
Well, we give up, but if we catch it, we find it. We can't deal with it. We mentally soft when it comes to that. That's property. That's my property,
Like you said though, she could have came in a relationship with an 02 Honda, check engine light, da. So maybe she look at it like she protecting the bag, like I can't have you paying child support, because I got to get the new range. You know what I'm saying?
That too. But you don't point the pistol at the workhorse, motherfucker. You fucking with the bag. But she could be Aisha Curry in the situation and say, hey, I wish other motherfuckers looked at me more, you know what I mean? And should Steph have got the strap at that point?
Yeah, hey, it's levels, right? You got your Aisha Currys, right? You got your Earl Thomas on. You got your Aisha Currys on one extreme, Earl Thomas on another, and then your Miko Grimes in the middle. So
and your Steve McNair all the way at the top.
Jesus.
When you can't push no more, she might just pull the trigger. She's like, you know what, old Yeller, we had a good run. Yeah,
you are terrible.
You out here giving my beef stick to somebody else. Well,
Listen, man. Moral story, man. Stop fucking with your man when he's at peace. If he's drinking around you, be happy he's fucking in the house drinking with you. Because if not, he could leave and go with his brother to an Airbnb and run Tristan on somebody else.
Or maybe she was a supportive black woman and she's like, hey nigga, camp about to start. What you drinking for? You know?
Nah, not likely. Not likely. Because that motherfucker's drinking year round. Fuck that. No, sir. Nope. I used to see CJ Mosley out in the bar
She was
after a
trying to get him ready
loss.
for camp.
After a loss. Nah, fuck that. My man, they said my man got tired of her bitching about drinking in the crib while he was drinking in his house. He paid for it. That's my motherfucking house. Huh? He got tired of that shit. So he got up out of there and got it. This man went to the length and extent to get an Airbnb
in the middle of
brother. You see what your nagging done? You see
who is renting Airbnb
in a pandemic? You see?
Listen, man, he making it look bad for the faithful.
You see what you made me do?
She was like, hey, dog, y'all ain't win a Super Bowl last year, man. You need to be training. You can't be drinking right now. You got to get ready.
If he would have went to Dallas.
Somebody had the meme with Derrick Henry face on it. They had the meme with Derrick Henry face on it when he was running him over. They put her face on it. Shit is crazy.
Yeah, man. Women are crazy.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, just let that man drink. Y'all got millions of dollars. He got everything in the crib. And it's like people like, celebrity stars, y'all could hunker down in the pandemic, man. This man got everything he need in his Dallas home, right? And she nagged him so much so he had to go get an Airbnb with his brother and probably some chick he met from the projects.
Nah, you know what it is though, EJ, like real talk, like the coronavirus got this motherfucker at home, right? So before, he probably used to go out and get him a drink, then come home before he had to deal with her and shit. Now he can't do that because everything closed, stay at home orders and shit. You know what I mean? And then she's like, "How many? You gonna have another drink?" Like, he's like, "God damn, man,
another one, another one."
Let me get his Airbnb app.
Yeah, this motherfucker was on the phone real quick, like, Shh. What you looking up? Nothing. Brother called and like, yeah, Oh, what you need me to do? Yeah, I'll be right over.
2-bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Should have signed the prenup.
Oh man, incredible.
Problem could have kicked her out. He probably sticking around because he ain't signed the prenup.
You want prenup?
Man.
Yeah. He said, yo, please just give us time to deal with this as a family. He said, nah, brother, we need to know what is going on.
I'm pressing charges.
That shit is crazy. More of the story, let your man drink in peace.
If I was him, I'm pressing charges, nigga. She got to go. Straight up.
Yeah, that's an actionable reason.
That's crazy.
Man. Yeah, but you know what they're gonna say out there, Lauren, see, Issa got off lucky. Lucky Lauren can't pull a pistol.
Started watching Insecure last night. So
Insecure.
Yeah, I'm only two.
Good job.
2 episodes in there. I started the Michelle Obama doc VP, but I fell asleep on it. So, and I don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to be unjust when we speak of it. So maybe I'll watch it this week and we can get to it. But I did like what I was seeing so far. I mean, she's such a down to earth woman, man. Michelle Obama is fucking She's such an awesome fucking person, dude. Awesome.
Man. Yeah, I love Michelle, man. Like watching the because the documentary, as you've seen so far, is basically like her on her book tour. Talking about her life and things like that. And just kind of like getting to see her interact with her mom and talk about her pops and that kind of thing was just awesome. The thing, their relationship is like really, it's like I'm an only child. I mean, I have a brother on my dad's side, but I grew up with my mom, so like seeing that sibling relationship, I thought it was like pretty cool. But the thing that I don't know if you got to this part yet, but she talks about in the book and then in the documentary how her brother went to Princeton to play basketball, and so she wanted to go to Princeton too. And then when she went to her guidance counselor to start talking about college, the guidance counselor was like, "Yeah, I don't think that you're Princeton material." And she's like, "What the fuck?" You know? And she was talking about how that's when she first came aware of like things aren't the same for us as they is for other people, even though she went to Princeton and killed it and then went on to fucking Harvard and all that kind of shit like that for law school. But this one white woman is like, yeah, you're not Princeton material, you know, even though she was like a awesome student, you know. So I thought that part of it was pretty unique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she has a sense of humor. I saw the part where she was talking about her brother being like her mom's favorite and shit, and she could
Yeah.
never fucking match up. And she's like, we sitting here at fucking at Thanksgiving dinner, and her mom is asking for her brother, and she's like, I'm the fucking first lady. Like, what more I got to do to be the favorite child? So that was
That shit
pretty.
was so funny. And then like right after that, like the mom, because when this happens, EJ, they're at the brother's house, right? And right after this happens, the mom is like, I love coming to Craig's house because he has the best wine. And Michelle's like,
That's crazy.
but it was good, man.
I love Michelle. I love Michelle Obama, man. She's the closer, man. When she delivered her speech at our school, yo, I had vaguely known about Barack because he had actually appeared at a Princeton event, and my line brother was at that event and met him and was, raving about him. Ironically, Princeton involved again. But yeah, when she delivered her speech and just talked about being from Chicago and her journey to get where she got, it brought me to tears, man. Michelle Obama is like, yeah, I mean, is the upper echelon of woman, man, and it's just once in a lifetime people.
It's funny that you
Once in a
mentioned that,
lifetime people.
EJ. It's funny you mentioned that because I've heard you use that term before about Michelle Obama calling her the closer. And as much politics as I consumed, I was all over that '08 race. And a lot of times when I would watch like an Obama speech, they wouldn't carry the Michelle speech. And then they would bring, when Obama came on, that's when they would take it and then you see him give his speech. So like, I didn't know like how good she was on the stump, but they talk about this in the documentary when the media start like, caricaturing her and talking all this shit about the fist bump and how she is like some trying to be some kind of activist and things like that. And she was like, she saw that she was becoming effective, and that's when it seems like the media and the right started coming after her. And then she had to start curtailing how she would speak in public, and she started using more teleprompter instead of speaking off the cuff and things like that. And when she said that, I immediately thought about you saying like how, yo, Michelle's the closer, because like I was saying, like I wasn't that exposed to her during the campaign. I saw more Obama than than Michelle,
Yeah, her whole speech was straight from the heart, yo. Like she went up there, she paused, she looked around, she just like you could see the spirit of just seeing and I'm getting chills now. Young black faces just looking up at her. And she just kept it real. Like I felt like that was the most genuine person I had ever heard give a speech in my life up until that point. Nothing was rehearsed. And she just was like, I know what y'all feel about this financial aid bullshit. It was like he was talking to like your educated auntie. Like this shit was crazy. And like, yo, man, I remember to this day just the ovation that she got and how shocked and awe I was just leaving that auditorium. And I mean the New Yorker in me still at the time. Yeah, I'm impressed as fuck, but I'm not impressed. A lot of people stuck around, went up and hugged her and kicked it with her. My ass went and got drunk, but still, it's just like I'll never forget it, man. I mean, 2 times in my life I felt that way. And I mean, credit to the other person, even though I think he's a millionaire scammer. selling religion. That's Pastor Jamal Bryant. That motherfucker can talk. And I will tell you the message he will give you. You do feel like he's talking to you right in that moment of your life. But yeah, man, Michelle Obama, shout out to her, man. Sheesh. The only woman that will be the first female president of this country.
Not gonna happen.
I don't know if I would say that. It would be. I think she could, and it'd be great.
I think she could. She don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's the part of it. I think if she listen, I don't even want to say it. It's probably
we gonna ride, huh, Steve? We gonna ride. We gonna ride.
Black woman president. Yeah, they coming for her. She not gonna make it. She gonna end up like Kennedy.
Chill out.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Like we can't listen. We talk about it all the time, dog. This country and these people, the colonizers, they're not even ready for a woman, let alone a black woman.
Let alone black woman, right?
Dog. It would be. She would need so much security. It would be crazy, man. There would be death threats. There would be. Listen, it's fucking. I don't even want to think about it because I love Michelle Obama. She's such an amazing fucking person, man. Such an amazing person.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, 100%. All right, man. We're getting a little long in the tooth, so it's Sunday. No fun day because we're still inside. But it is Mother's Day, so once again, shout out to the mothers, the strong mothers, the good mothers, and our mothers and wives.
And happy Mother's Day.
And baby mother for EJ.
Son bitch.
Happy Mother's Day.
My God.
Yo. You pee is in tears.
What's wrong? What is wrong with him? He can't even take us out.
I don't know. He probably watched something on Twitter, I think.
He probably saw
I'm laughing at Steve. I'm laughing at Steve. Oh my God, yo, this nigga, man.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
What the fuck I do? I say Happy Mother's Day.
Out of control, man. Out of control.
Fucking Barry, man. Listen, man, as always, stay safe, man. I'm not gonna say stay home, but wash your motherfucking hands. Make sure you're aware of what surfaces you're touching, anything that comes in your home. If you don't know where it came from, wipe that motherfucker down. Keep yourself safe. If you decide you're gonna go out and partake in this opening of wherever you live, you just do it responsibly. Keep yourself safe. Keep your family safe. Continue to check on your family members, your friends. Check on the fucking rock, the rock of the family, the rock of the friendship, because that person starts to get, pressure bust pipes, man. So that person that's constantly the one taking in everyone else's stress, eventually they're gonna have to let that shit out, man. So check on them too. And that's all I got to say, man. I will pass the good mic over to Deacon VP of Research and allow him to get us up out of here.
Yeah, just want to basically agree with everything Steve just said. If you go out and partake, do it responsibly. Wash your hands, wipe down your surfaces, carry some travel sanitizing wipes, travel hand sanitizer, all that kind of thing like that. Just try to be extremely careful because you just never know. Also, you can find us anywhere you can get a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify. You know, if they got a podcast, we're on it. You know, iHeartRadio, etc. So just search Castworthy on Instagram at Castworthy _ podcast. And finally, again, you know, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Also, you know, happy Mother's Day to them fathers pulling double duty. You know, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys rocking with us, and we'll see you next time. Peace.